What's going on, noobs? I am Rory, the Perpetual Noob, and welcome back to my Hollow Knight boss discussion series. This is the 6th video in a series where I'll be discussing each boss of Hollow Knight, where we can find them, how we can defeat them, and how does this boss fit into the world of Hollow Knight. Today, we'll be talking about Dung Defender. We can find Dung Defender just to the right of top center of the Royal Waterways. We'll know we're getting close to the battleground because we will hear Dung Defender calling out in his gibberish. The start of our fight with Dung Defender is marked when gates drop down and we see the ground being disturbed by something burrowing underneath us. Eventually, Dung Defender will pop out and cheer. Dung Defender is a boisterous boss, seemingly joyful throughout the fight. Dung Defender will gather up and throw 2 dung balls, one after the other. These dung balls will bounce around the battleground for about 6 seconds before disappearing. These balls do not disappear when they hit us. Dung Defender telegraphs this attack when he uses his hands to gather up dung into a ball, and then throw the ball into the air. There is a variation to this attack as well. After Dung Defender throws the 2 balls, he will curl up into a ball and bounce around the battleground with the dung balls for about 4 seconds. Let's call all of this the toss attack. Dung Defender will dive in and out of the ground like a dolphin in water, or Scrooge McDuck in a vault of gold coins, moving across the battleground. He telegraphs this attack by clasping his hands together in front of him and doing a short leap forward while raising his hands over his head. Let's call this the dive attack. Dung Defender will dive underground, disrupting the dirt, yeah, that's what it is, as he travels underground, essentially so we can see where he is, back and forth across the battleground. After being underground for about 5 seconds, Dung Defender will burst from the ground, sending 4 dung balls into the air to rain down on us at set distances away from Dung Defender, with him in the center. These dung balls will not bounce, instead breaking once they hit the floor, or us. Dung Defender can burst up anywhere on the battleground. Dung Defender begins this attack by diving underground, like he is doing a dive attack, but instead of springing up and down like Scrooge McDuck, he stays underground. Dung Defender telegraphs the burst portion of this attack when he stops moving underground. Dung Defender will remain in place for about half a second before bursting up. Let's call this the burst attack. At a point during the fight, Dung Defender will let out another boss scream, when all of those waves emanate from the boss, and go into a temporary hyper mode. This hyper mode lasts for about 12 seconds, and during this time, Dung Defender will chain together multiple, faster burst attacks, bursting from the ground once every half second. Thankfully, this hyper mode only happens once per fight. To defeat Dung Defender, after a few losses, I equipped the Grub Song, Wayward Compass, and Dash Master charms. Grub Song is my jam. I get hit all the time, so having a charm that grants me soul every time I get hit is integral to me. Dash Master was for extra mobility, Wayward Compass was a silly choice. I should have equipped the tried and true Thorns of Agony. After my first unsuccessful encounter against Dung Defender, I learned that the dung balls can be knocked away when struck with a nail. I tended to use upward slash to accomplish this. I also learned that I could use an upward slash to damage and knock Dung Defender away when he was bouncing around as a ball. Keeping my head safe from the bouncing balls and Dung Defender was one of the key strategies to victory. Another key strategy was positioning. The burst attack was relatively harmless if I dashed when Dung Defender stopped moving. This gave me the opportunity to put myself either between dung balls or directly underneath the one closest to Dung Defender, so I could knock it away and continue to strike him. It was always best to stay 1 to 2 steps away from Dung Defender. During the toss attack, it was best to strike while he made a ball, then back off a step or 2, and repeat for the second ball. Keeping back 1 to 2 steps kept me safe whenever Dung Defender would dive underground, and it would allow me to get in a hit while he was diving. I found that jumping around and using a downward slash when Dung Defender was doing the dive attack did work, but it was risky because sometimes I missed the timing of the jump or slash and just took damage instead. Jumping after Dung Defender dove was kind of a 50-50 bet whether or not I get hit, but dashing towards Dung Defender after he dove was always safe. Finding time to heal was a learning experience, and I found that the best time to heal was during the toss attack. The dung balls bounced along particular arcs that, after some trial and error, became fairly easy to avoid, so I could heal even multiple hit points during a single toss attack. Lather, rinse, repeat, and Dung Defender will eventually be defeated. Those are the tactics I used. Let's discuss other possibilities. Healing will be made so much easier if you have the Quick Focus charm equipped. When Dung Defender goes underground, you can strike the ground where Dung Defender is with Desolate Dive, the spell we got after defeating Soulmaster, to pop him out of the ground, stunned for a few seconds. And don't forget to upgrade your nail at the nailsmith. Please see the Soulmaster video for a more in-depth general discussion about playstyles and charm combinations. Once Dung Defender is defeated, we can pick up the Defender's Crest charm. If we equip this charm, it provides us with a noxious aura that does damage to enemies over time. The damage is low, and the aura has a really short range, but Defender's Crest can be combined with Spore Shroom, Fluke Nest, and Glowing Womb to provide extra bonus effects and damage. Equipping any of these charms comes down to noob preference. When you equip Defender's Crest, the Elderbug, White Lady, Relic Seeker Lem, Dung Defender, Took, and Leg Eater NPCs will have different, extra dialogue. An extra special effect of this charm is that noobs will get a 25% discount on Leg Eater's charms and services, if you've equipped Defender's Crest. So who is Dung Defender? From the Hunter's notes, skilled combatant living at the heart of the waterways, assails intruders with balls of compacted dung. The Hunter doesn't much understand Dung Defender, who fights for honor and loyalty, because in the Hunter's mind, those are concepts that don't matter in Hallownest anymore. But there is way more to Dung Defender. He is one of Hallownest King's 5 great knights. Dung Defender was one of the strongest knights in all of Hallownest. Sadly, at this point in Hallownest's life, Dung Defender is one of only 2 of the 5 who remain alive. And depending on how much you explore and do, Dung Defender could be the only remaining knight. But why is this knight down here, under the royal city, rather than above in the city or anywhere else? To protect his beloved Yzma, who was a fellow knight of the king's. The grove where she is buried is just beyond the royal waterways. I thank the Hollow Knight Wiki for providing all of this insight, because I did not discover this when I traversed the waterways. If you have Desolate Dive and have not killed all 3 Dreamers, more on them in future videos, you can find Dung Defender hanging out 1 room to the right and below of the battleground, after beating him. There he'll reveal all, or at least a lot, about his past and how he views us and the world of Hallownest. I've provided a link in the description to another YouTuber's video which shows all of that dialogue if you'd like to see it in action. When I first encountered Dung Defender, I didn't expect to find a boss who was tied so intricately with the history of Hallownest, or, despite all of the heartache and struggles he's faced, to be so upbeat. That's it for our boss discussion about Dung Defender. Thank you for joining me today, noobs. Stay tuned for future Hollow Knight boss videos. If you've got any thoughts about this Dung Defender fight, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. I am the Perpetual Noob, and I'll see you all next time.